Yeah, so Alliance University for the past couple of years has been attempting to reimagine the role of the university within a larger culture. And I think many of the silos are breaking down between the university, the ivory tower of academia, and then the hustle and bustle of culture. Now, if the university is going to be a central place where modernity is going to be reimagined, understood, and reconciled, then it cannot afford to ignore emergent trends and the ways in which daily life, professional life are being reimagined by the reconstitution of material and intellectual culture by AI. So, given that we are placed in a city where such things are not, I don't want to say rampant, but certainly prolific, we thought that it would be the ideal location and platform from which we could not just pontificate, but also ponder and speculate on the ways in which AI has been transforming our daily lives, right? So, as a part of breaking down the silos between the university and society, we also thought that it's the liberal arts department really that should be taking the charge on this, because AI for long has been within the domain of the technicist, within the domain of the engineer. For instance, this morning we had a session by Kailash Nath, who is very much who's the chief technical officer of Zerodha, who's very much seen the transformation of big data into AI over the past 10, 15 years. But he himself is quite clear that it's no longer the domain of the technicists, it's the domain of the philosophers and the cultural theorists and the sociologists to actually look at some of the deep questions that AI is making us ask ourselves. In a sense, for too long, human beings have thought about themselves as the only intelligent beings on the planet. This is an example, right? Now that we're applying this moniker of intelligence to non-human beings, let's say the machine, it immediately makes us question some deep things about ourselves. For instance, what does it mean to be intelligent? Now, this is a question that we have unsatisfactorily answered in attempting to differentiate ourselves from animals, because there has been very little resistance from our animal cousins when we claim ourselves to be the only intelligent species on the planet. But the machine is challenging that notion. So you see what I mean, that the very notion of human intelligence is something that we have to question for ourselves at this point when it is being threatened, and we're no longer enjoy a kind of monopoly on that. So these are some of the ways in which we came to set up this AI and Society Confest. We don't want it to just be philosophical speculation on artificial intelligence, which has been going on for ages, but also about the ways in which it's immediate and both exciting and dangerous, right? Like, for instance, AI and warfare. That's an immediate way in which the nature of ground warfare, air warfare, submarine warfare is changing. We are living through a moment of extreme polarization and conflict around the world. There's the Ukraine war, there's the conflict in West Asia. And for that, we've brought in army generals, colonels, lieutenants, but also people involved in the appropriations of weaponry for the Defense Department. We've brought in all these kinds of experts to actually tell us what's going on. How is AI actually changing the way in which human beings are conducting warfare, one of the oldest ways in which human beings have engaged? That's one way. Another way is the media, and this might be interesting for those behind the camera as well, that it's essential for us to understand the ways in which artificial intelligence can change not only the manner of the dissemination of information, but also the way in which it changes minds. We've, for almost a decade now, since the 2016 election, I remember, where there was a sort of furor about the Russian involvement in the American elections. From then onwards, we've constantly been hearing about how social media, especially artificial intelligence, the algorithm creates these silos, not opening up this sort of flowering of democracy where everybody knows all the information, but everybody has their own flavor of information and more of it, rather than having more information along different channels. So that's another area in which we need to think about AI. So AI and media happen to be one of the other pillars. And in this manner, we decided that all the disciplines under the liberal arts, from psychology to cultural studies, to political science and governance and media and so forth, would come under one roof and exchange ideas with one another so that we can just see the full scope of how AI is transforming society. So this was the thought process behind it. And as a department that has all these majors under it, I mean, a school rather, a school of liberal arts that has all these majors under it, we work together as a team of sort of engaged and enthusiastic faculty members to make this happen. But we didn't want to just stop there. We also wanted this to be an opportunity for us to bring active participating artists into the fold, right? Not just academics thinking and talking, but also artworks which have a less discursive but a more immediate interaction with what AI means for the world. As we all know, usually a new emergent technology entails certain disruptive changes to society, and it's usually the artists who come to terms with that in a way that's understandable, reconcilable in the, let's say, minds and hearts of a public, a general public. And in that fashion, at the BIC, we've organized an AI and art exhibition where the most cutting edge of Indian art, the sort of biggest known names in sort of like the avant-garde of Indian art are here. Tara Kelton, for instance, Hassan, Harish, and Apu Pen. They're all here to basically display artworks that allow not just are like paintings which are to be observed, but artworks in which one can actually engage, right? One can actually actively participate. And that's one of the changes in the formal mode of interaction with an artwork. That's actually a revolutionary change, that AI allows one to engage in this way and be both a recipient of creativity and a content creator in themselves. So that is a central aspect of AI, which is demonstratively displayed in the way in which these artworks function. So that's to give you a broad scope of how this conference was conceptualized and how it's played out. But in terms of how it's gone, I think it's gone beautifully, brilliantly beyond anything that any of us could have imagined. Some of the ideas that were discussed were not certainly ones that we were expecting. We had a panel that began the conference about democracy and AI by Mark Kokelberg, who is one of the leading philosophers in the field of AI in the past, let's say, 2 or 3 decades. And he spoke about just the way in which something that is a sort of emergent technology, that is a sort of something that behaves and thinks autonomously from human beings. This is a fear that he says has been there since the time of Plato, who thought of the ship as a kind of autonomous system that seems to be working on its own. And he called this cybernetica, which is a term that we use in the modern day to talk about things science fiction. So this is a fear that's always been there. And his fear specifically is that any disruptive technology that allows us to aggregate information has almost inevitably always led to more centralization, less democracy, more oppression. And it has often been an engine of authoritarian rule. And just like any other sort of technology that allows for the aggregation of information, AI, as far as he sees it, is just one other iteration in that long process. So given that is the case, then how do we think about AI in the context of democracy, right? It's very cliche and very easy to say that AI, again, opens up this vast sort of, panacea of information where everybody can be as well informed as everybody else. But again, we have to think about the ways in which these technologies have gone. So a historical, political, philosophical perspective there. And I also already mentioned the lieutenant generals and the colonels who came and spoke about the uses of AI in modern warfare. We also had panels where we discussed the role that AI chatbots can play in therapy, in mental health. In this fashion, we've had a sort of plethora of discussions in the past 2 days at Alliance University, where we've also had performances. We've had our students coming in and putting on fashion shows, which are inspired by AI themes. We've had musical performances which synthesize, AI music, AI generated music, on the spot creation of Carnatic ragas using AI technology, and so forth. And today, of course, we bring ourselves to a culmination at the Bangalore International Center, where we're putting on an art exhibition, as I said, in which people can participate, and hopefully the viewers will also have a chance to virtually participate in these artworks as we go. Thank you.